Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Wrap Up Now with Video. I'm your host, managing editor Spencer Legacy, and I'm here with co-host Cool Boy, etc. Video Man Joe Bariso.
Hello. Also, other big Marvel guy,
As you can see from the background, where he has a Spider-Man picture.
and he also has a Spider-Man picture.
Yeah, it's
Yours
so
is
true.
yours is more in line with this game than mine is because I have Peter.
It's true, and I got a Miles one because today we're talking about Spider-Man Miles Morales, as you can probably tell.
Cool.
So we're gonna start with the story. What do you
Yeah.
think about the story, Joe? You're the even more of an expert than me.
Ooh. Well, we'll go into spoilers little bit later. Expect the same highs from the last Spider-Man game if you've played that. Like this game takes source material and just elevates it.
Mhm.
I don't know about you. I've always had slight problems with Miles because they always try to make him just Peter Parker 2 instead of trying to
Yeah,
forge his own identity. And between this and Spider-Verse, they've done a lot to kind of like flesh him out as an individual character, and it
yeah,
really shines in this game.
I agree. He feels fleshed out, and he doesn't feel like Peter too, especially because there's a lot of comparisons with Peter in this. Whether it's people being like, "I prefer the original Spider-Man,"
Yeah,
or him like comparing himself to Peter, talking to Peter on the phone, but it never feels like he's trying to be Peter, which is fitting because the game's tagline is "Be yourself." So it works, but he definitely feels like his own character this time around, which is very pleasant. Especially because the character that he is a lot of fun.
yeah, he's really great. His extended like network of characters is great.
Hmm.
That's probably the greatest story strength this game has over the original is that there's actually a lot bigger cast of characters to kind of interact with, and you're constantly talking to, or as opposed to the first game, it was really just Mary Jane and Doc Ock
Yeah, and Yuri.
and Yuri. Yeah.
That was definitely the biggest ones, and it's interesting because this is a smaller game, but it has a bigger cast and it worked. So I'm
Yes.
hoping that Spider-Man 2, or Marvel's Spider-Man 2, I guess. I hope they expand the cast even further with
Yes. Same.
I don't know who, but whoever they do it with, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. But back to Miles, yeah, the story. For those who don't know, Peter goes on work vacation. Miles is the only Spider-Man the only Spider-Man in New York for a few weeks,
Yep.
and he fights the Tinkerer with their organization, the Underground, as well as Roxxon with their own armed militia, and the two factions are clashing, and Miles is stuck in the middle trying to stop both of them.
While also trying to come into his own, and
Yeah, he's trying to come to his own. He's fighting his own worries about being Spider-Man while trying to maintain his secret identity. While at the same time, he finds out the identity of the Tinker and it messes with him. So that's the non-spoilery
yeah,
story summary. But we're gonna get into spoilers now because it's a lot easier to discuss
yeah. Well,
this plot.
let's talk about just the game a little bit before we just hop into.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I Miles, both because of his venoms and because of the way he swings, he actually feels different enough that it's not like, oh, I'm just playing as a different suit Spider-Man.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, oh, you're playing a different character.
The Venom is adds such a nice balance to the gameplay where like I love the one we were talking about it originally where it's like all you do is just Venom punch all the time because like why not?
Yeah,
But I also love the Venom jump where you just lift the guys
that
in
was
the
a lot
air
of fun.
and they're just stuck surrounded with like electricity for like a minute.
Yeah, I was messing with the dash today, and that's a lot of fun too.
Yeah. Especially that upgrade where you get the free jump with the dash, so you can like
Mhm.
chuck him into a bunch of guys and then like lift them all up in
Lift
the
them
air.
all up. Yeah,
The invisibility not as useful though. This game definitely feels like it leans more on stealth than the original one did.
yeah. I will say, it didn't feel like his web tools were more suited for stealth as much
No.
as his invisibility was. Like Peter's, he had like a lot of traps and stuff involving webs, but for this, I'd say the only one that really fit was the remote mines,
Yeah.
and like everything else was much more for combat, which is a weird take since there's so much stealth. But
Yeah.
uh,
And it makes sense why you would make this one more stealth heavy because he has the invisibility. But
yeah,
I will say by the end of that game, I was like, I really don't need another stealth sequence.
yeah,
I've played Arkham. I have had my fill
yeah.
of that over the years. It's
I'm glad there's only I think like 6 bases to do
yeah.
because like by the sixth I was like, all right,
Especially I don't know about you. I played this one on hard because I 100%ed the last one, and I was just like, all right, well, I'll do the hardest difficulty. Did this game feel like a little more challenging to you?
I played on normal because I'm used to that being the way they design it around. So I'm always like, oh, I better do normal first so that it's not messy.
Yeah.
But I found maybe it's because I was out of practice with the game. There's kind of a rhythm to the game, and you'll probably see in my footage when I jump back in. At first, I'm not great, and then I get back into the swing of things immediately. There's a rhythm that you kind of have to get into, and it was difficult at first. Like the fights felt more hard, but as I got more buildies and whatnot, and maybe I got more into the flow of things, it felt less difficult. But it still felt like because it's true. Like Miles doesn't hit as hard as Peter, and he probably I'm not sure if he takes less hits, but it feels that way.
Yes, it does. And honestly, I think that's a smart decision because it really makes you have to use the Venom powers
Yeah,
to get through most
exactly.
combat encounters. Like you literally, yeah. And it incentivizes you to actually use the gadgets and tools. Whereas in the first game, I don't know about you, I really only used like the air blast and just like knock guys around and then
Yeah, I used that in the web bombs because they were just fun to set off.
yeah,
You do use a lot of his tools, a lot of the time. He has less tools, but you since you use them, it feels more fluid in that way.
yeah.
You played on PS4 and I played on PS5,
No, I played
right?
on
Oh no,
PS5
you played
too.
on PS5.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. We both played on PS5. I forgot about that. Um, and swinging with those adaptive triggers is
Oh
so
my
fun.
god. Yeah.
Feels so good.
It feels so good.
It feels like you're like shooting web.
The little tiny like rumble it makes when it like I don't know how I could describe it to an audience if you haven't done it, but the controller rumbles not when you shoot out the web, but when it anchors.
Yeah.
So when it hits the building, you get that like satisfying like little like tug almost, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
And that last bit of the trigger is like you have to pull a bit harder, so it's
yeah,
like a swing. It's really fantastic.
it's so good.
Yeah.
That and the dual sense with the freaking the venom powers, how it crackles in your hand,
Yeah,
it's so cool.
it's so cool. I really hope they use that a lot in Spider-Man 2 because I want more of that.
Same. I'm gonna be honest. This made me just want to replay that remaster.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about it. I was like, "Oh man, this has me wanting to like play another game where I can feel the swinging and the jumping."
Yeah, it's. I mean, we could do a longer thing just about the freaking PS5 DualSense, but it's hard to go back to other games after using
Yeah,
it.
it's true.
Just
It's really interesting, especially in a game like Miles where it's trying to immerse you and make you vicariously feel like Spider-Man.
yeah,
It does that really well. The DualSense is the perfect controller for this kind of game.
exactly.
It's great.
It's so good.
Is there anything you want to say before we get to spoilers then?
I mean, play this game. If you have a
Play it
PS5, you should get it,
or a PS4.
or a PS4. But
Yeah,
yeah, you should play this game. It's pretty good.
it's worthwhile. If you liked Spider-Man, if you weren't huge on Spider-Man, this is like a shorter, more refined Spider-Man.
Yes.
So you can try it either way. I don't think it's full priced unless you get the remastered one.
Yeah. And again, full price now on PS5 is $70 as opposed to 60. So,
It's 90 here.
oh jeez. Oof.
So you're Canadian.
Oof.
It's a big I bought Demon Souls and Spider-Man. They were like, that's $205. And I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Oof.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Spider that's because I got the remastered version. But if you don't get that, it should be cheaper.
It's 40 down here.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. But without further ado, we're gonna go into spoilers.
Spoilers.
Now.
Now. It's going to be a big effect.
So were you shocked by Finn being the Tinkerer
No, not at all.
because their name is the same
The
as the
character.
actual the 616 Tinkerer?
Yeah, and also the second she walked in, like, oh, here's your old friend you haven't seen in like a year.
And she doesn't want to talk about the past.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, I'm getting into biomechanics. And you're like, okay.
Oh, I see. So you're Roxxon.
Yeah. You're that guy that took the rhino.
You're the corporate boss man. I see. I see. Yeah. No, it wasn't a big twist, but it was definitely a fun dynamic.
Yes. There were moments in the middle of the game where I was kind of confused on how they wanted me to feel
Mm-hmm.
about her, because she was like, why'd you lie to me? And it's like, I don't know, because you're a supervillain and also you're going to commit a massive act of terrorism.
Yeah. And then Miles is like, "Gosh, I hope she's not mad." And I'm like, "Why? Like, I get that you were friends, but if I found out that my friend was gonna do a big terrorism act and like they were like, 'Why are you lying to me?' I'd be like,
You know,
It's pretty obvious
because you're gonna
because you're bad."
go kill like 10,000 people. Like,
Yeah. It felt a little funny there where I was like, "Miles, you shouldn't be so conflicted over this. I don't know."
you really shouldn't.
Like, I get that you have a personal relationship, but I don't see how that overwrites any of this.
I think that's the one case where the game's shorter length works against it.
Mhm.
Because, you know, in the original Spider-Man, Peter basically has the same dynamic with Doc Ock. But
Yeah.
the thing is, you get like 4 or 5 scenes of Doc Ock before he becomes a supervillain,
Mhm.
where you kind of see the progression downward, and you as a player kind of are more invested in that character. Whereas Finn, it's basically like you get one scene with her where you're like, oh, we're all friends, and then it's immediately like she's the Tinkerer.
She's the Tinkerer, and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
alright." You didn't get another Doc Ock scene in this game,
Yeah.
where you're like, "Oh, that's nice. They're at a little expo."
Yeah. That scene was
Yeah.
nice.
It was nice. I stuck around the whole time.
Same.
I followed Peter until I hit an invisible wall when he left. I was like, "Oh, I wanted to see him run."
Yeah, same. It's like, take me with you. What Spider-Man adventure are you going on?
Yeah.
I want to
"I don't
know.
wanna be in this part where I just walk around a museum. Take me on a Spider-Man adventure, please."
Uh, yeah. We'll get into that later, because we'll get into like the next game stuff in a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think though at the end of that game, that relationship really comes around into its own,
Mhm.
especially that final fight. I don't know what you think about that, but
I I was impressed with just how, like, violent it was.
yeah,
Like, she was, like, wailing on Miles, and then you're, like, wailing on her, and I was like, "Oh my god,
yeah,
this is intense between 2 people. This is like the end of Metal Gear Solid 4 or something. You're just wailing on each other."
yeah, just beating the ever loving crap out of each other.
But it felt yeah, maybe that's part of why it felt, like, proper was because it was like, "Oh, this is just, like, 2 people they have no reservations
Yeah.
anymore." S
Well, like I was saying, like, you know, because for a lot of the game, we were just talking like, Miles, like, why are you just upset about what she thinks? Like, she is going to kill
Yeah.
people. She has killed people,
Mhm.
you know? Like,
Mhm.
she's not that much of a redeemable character, really. And at the end of that game, with him just going like, no, I can't let you do this if that means I'm going to like pound you into this building.
Yeah.
Like,
If I have to seismic toss you, like, through a pillar and then wail on you with venom powers, then I will. I
like,
was like, "Whoa."
I don't know about you, man, but there was a moment in this game, like, at the end of it, where you're at the big reactor and it's all blowing up, and Finn's just like wailing on you, and she's like basically got your mask off, and then she's just like, why do you keep doing this? And he's just like, because I'm Spider-Man. I'm like, hell yeah, kid, let's go.
"Hell yeah, brother. You are Spider-Man. Let's do this."
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a nice
Yeah.
moment. Yeah, that whole ending sequence was actually pretty
Yeah.
nice. It was, especially I was impressed that he made it through that fall.
Yeah.
I thought someone was gonna catch him, or he was gonna like shoot, like absent-mindedly shoot a web and like arc
I thought it
down,
was gonna be like
but he
Peter
just
shows up at the
crashed.
last second and be like, "You did good, kid."
Yeah, exactly. But he's just like, and then he's like, "Oh, that kind of hurt." I was like, I guess that's why there's no fall damage in this
Yeah.
game. He can take a licking and keep on kicking.
How do you feel about them just being like, well, the mom thing wasn't that much of a surprise because that's a thing in the comics. You know, I
Yeah,
wasn't too shocked by that, but I was pretty surprised by them just saying like, no, well, not most of Harlem, but like a good chunk of Harlem knows that he is Spider-Man.
it does feel like it devalues the whole secret identity thing a little bit, just because you know so many people know, like, and Finn knew, and like his mom and everybody. And so I was like, is it kind of soon for this many people to know? But with each instance, it worked in that instance. So like as a whole, I was like, that's a lot of people. But individually, I was like, this works in each situation. So maybe like it's a bit much, but I was never against it.
And it also works towards that thing they're kind of going towards at the end where it's like our Spider-Man, you know, as opposed to
Yeah.
like the city Spider-Man. This is Harlem Spider-Man. And I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, me too. Felt more personal.
Yes, exactly. Which again is hard because, you know, like he was just saving a neighborhood as opposed to Peter saving the entirety of New York and possibly the world in the last game.
Yeah, exactly. And this is all coming from someone who's like, my favorite fictional character is Peter Parker. So this is like the fact that I'm playing a Spider-Man game and you're not Peter Parker, and it's this much fun, and it's this like personally enjoyable from a character perspective, is like a testament to how great Miles is.
Exactly. Uh
Yeah.
while we're at it, let's just get into Peter in this game.
He works really well as the fun mentor.
He really does. Generally, they're always really afraid to give that designation to him.
Mhm.
And I think they did really well with him as a teacher in this.
Yeah, this felt like if the dead Peter Parker from Spider-Verse was the mentor for him in that movie, where it's just like he's drinking coffee upside down. He's like, "Oh, you figure this kind of thing out," and he's like, there's a phone call near the end where he's like, "Maybe you should be a teacher," and he's like, "No, maybe, yeah." And I was like, "Wow, this is a fun Peter Parker who's like who's like a grown up but still fun."
Yes, exactly. And it's like part of me's like, yeah, I would love to see Peter. I mean, I love that run of Spider-Man where he's a teacher.
Yeah.
So them being like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, it felt good. I was like, "Oh yeah, he doesn't have a job. His last boss was insane." So, yeah, that feels about right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked how they did him, especially like at first I wasn't sold on like he's leaving for like 3 weeks. I can't picture that. But that goes to show how much he has faith in Miles. So it felt
And
right.
you also kind of also feel that that was him being like, all right, I've taught you everything I can teach you. Now it's time for you to like
Yeah.
learn on your own.
And at the same time it made sense, like he was looking at flights when the bridge happened, not because he didn't have faith in Miles, because he was like, maybe this is on me. Like maybe you weren't ready, not because of anything on your part, but maybe like I did it too soon. So it was like, oh, Parker guilt. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was like more of like, oh, you know, you're still a kid. Maybe you shouldn't be fighting a supervillain.
Yeah. It wasn't like maybe you're not ready. It's like maybe I put you in a situation way before you're like you're supposed to be as a person ready for it. Like maybe I threw a toddler into the swimming pool here.
Exactly. But then once Miles says, no, I can do this, he was like, all right.
Yeah. He's like, okay, you're Spider-Man.
Yeah. And that's
And I liked the little oath too.
same.
That was a nice moment.
I love that they just call each other Spider-Man. Like it's
Yeah,
not Spider-Man
that was a
Jr. They
nice
treat each
moment.
other completely as equals. Um I don't did you do the explore Miles's room at all? The look at all the stuff in it?
Yeah,
Uh I
yeah.
love that there's that little like ticket for the movie they went and saw together.
Yeah. And he's like, "Peter cried, I cried
Yeah.
too."
And I love the idea that Peter's just taken him on not just as like a mentor, but as like a big brother, basically. And it's just like
Yeah, it's really nice.
you're part of my family now. We just hang out outside of being Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah. That's why I liked at the beginning when Miles shot the web into the fan and it blew up the
yeah,
carrier. Peter wasn't, like, mad. He was like, "I made tons of mistakes, like, this happens, we just have to fix it."
yeah.
I liked that. That was really nice too.
Yeah. So if you were worried about this game like invalidating either of these characters, like no, not at all actually. Like
Not at all. They're both
yeah.
great.
Um
But it made me raring to get more of both of them in the next game.
yeah. Uh also just want to say before we move on, but I also loved the Uncle Aaron stuff in this one.
Yeah, that was really he was a really good character, and I hope he comes back again. Which he probably will because he in the end he's like, I have a reduced sentence
2
2 years.
years.
And it's like, oh,
Huh.
that's
Yeah.
probably gonna be when the game comes out. So yeah, that makes
I
sense.
was shocked though. I think they did him better than Spider-Verse did him.
Yeah, because he felt like he was constantly struggling against himself, where he was like trying to be the him that Miles and his dad wanted him to be, but he kept like struggling with that, and I liked that a lot. He felt like a rounded character.
And I like that all the bad things he did in this game was only because he was trying to protect Miles. Like when he
Yeah,
said he was retired from being the Prowler, he really was. Like,
yeah. He was actually trying to get a new start.
yeah, uh,
It felt
it
good.
felt good.
Yeah,
And also, it's a very good Prowler suit.
it is, and I love the Spider-Man suit you get too, the Purple Rain
Yeah, it's
one.
really good.
It's great.
All right, so let's get to that tease at the end of the game.
We got Venom, Harry, and green light on
Norman
Norman's face constantly,
and freaking Kurt Connors is there.
and he's like, "Don't take him out yet," and he's like, "He's coming out,"
Oh,
and I was like, "That never goes well."
I can't wait.
It's gonna be so good.
So black suit Spider-Man, right? Symbiote suit. That
Mhm.
has to be
It's gotta be, and the fact that they've already hinted that Eddie Brock exists
yeah,
also goes to show that they've gotta do something with that because, like, it's on the work card in the
yeah,
first game. So and especially, like, there's a lot of character there where, like, everyone wrote, like, "Good luck," except for Eddie.
yes,
So he probably already doesn't like
yep.
Peter, where he just wrote his
And
name.
also,
But
you could also probably see that Eddie being pissed off that this kid who quit 2 years ago immediately gets the wartime photography gig.
yeah, exactly. That feels like a really nice little setup for some Venom time,
Uh,
which would be really nice.
yes.
I'm wondering, like, I my theory, which is in an article on MonsterVine.com
Oh,
right now, um, is that Harry's going to be Venom for a while, and then Norman is going to maybe suit up to try and stop him in his own not good way, while Spider-Man's trying to stop him. So it'll be like a trifecta of two people trying to stop Venom, but in different ways, so they're clashing, and then that'll lead to it getting to Peter, and then maybe Eddie. I don't know how they're going to structure it, but I'm interested to see that
Eddie might not even be the Venom in this next game.
in
Like
this one. Yeah,
I could see him being like 3. Like
another Spider-Man 3 with a Venom. It's like poetry. It
yeah.
rhymes.
Uh so I actually think though it's going to be that the symbiote just gets out and you're going to have Harry as Hobgoblin and then Norman
Ooh, that'd be really nice.
suits up to go Green Goblin to fight him and then of course, goes full off the rails.
That'd be really fun. There's like they have to do Green Goblin in the next game because there's been so many hints. When you're in the first game when you're investigating the room, there's pumpkin
Yeah.
bombs. There's every time they show him in that room, there's like a green light on his
Yes.
face. And it's like he has to do it ASAP.
I don't know. I'm also into the idea of them saving Green Goblin for the third one. Like
That'd be fine too. Like if they do him in 2 or 3 and Venom in the other one, I think that'd be great. Like that'd be really
yeah.
interesting. Either way. So I'd be really happy with either resolution. And I think it'd be fun for them to introduce Hobgoblin first because it'd be like the 90s Spider-Man
Yeah.
show where the Hobgoblin was around first. And it's like, oh, it's a fun little throwback.
Exactly. And then it kind of like leads into you see like the Hobgoblin, you're like, oh, he's trouble. And then when the Green Goblin shows up, he's like, this freaking level beyond.
Yeah. He's like the next level trouble
Yeah.
where it's like, damn, how do we handle that? And then both Spider-Man do it. That'd be really I really hope, and I'm sure they will, like make it so you can swap between them in the next
Or
game.
co-op.
Co-op would be great
Co-op would
too.
be
That'd
amazing.
be really fun.
Uh
I'm wondering if they'll introduce a third one like in the teaser at the end so that they have 3 spiders. So I don't know, like I don't know if Silk or who they want to do, but
Clone Saga. Screw it.
oh fuck, I love that. I
Ben
love the Clone
Riley.
Saga. I'll die on that hill. I grew up with
No,
that
it's terrible.
nonsense. It's not good, but I grew up reading it and being like, "Wow, who is Peter?"
God.
It has potential to be good, and if anyone can make a fun thing out of it, it'd be Insomniac.
Just gonna say, Ezekiel. There's a book by Ezekiel in
Yeah,
this game, so maybe 3 could be a Spider-Verse thing. I don't know.
that'd be pretty wild. You get to see all the Spider-Man from all the other
Yeah.
games. You get to see Neversoft Spider. That'd be really
Shows up
fun.
with the
You get to
skateboard,
see
just
like
comes down.
he comes. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Neversoft Spider-Man.
Oh,
Oh man, that'd be so good. If you're hearing this, Insomniac, that one's free on the house. Have a low poly skateboarding Spider-Man.
you don't have to call it Neversoft because obviously you don't want to get like in trouble with
Yeah, just call it Pro Spider.
Peter Parker's Pro Spider.
Peter Parker Pro Spider. That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
Oh man, that'd be so good.
man.
They can get the guy back to be the voice of him from the 2 Neversoft games after the
Yeah.
skateboarding, where he's like, "I'm already at full health." That'd be a great voice to get
Isn't
back.
it just
But yeah,
the guy from the Neversoft
sorry?
Spider-Man game? Isn't it?
Who?
Isn't the
What?
voice actor from that just the guy from the Neversoft Spider-Man game?
I think so. That'd be really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I would love that.
But yeah, there's so many ideas that they could do that I'm really excited to see how they do
Yeah.
it. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, so Miles sets up even more fun stuff.
Yes. I hope there's more supervillains in the next one.
Me too. They've hinted at so many. Like he has the vial of sand.
Yeah.
He has a drawing of Mysterio. All this.
We know
stuff.
Lizard's at least going to be in the next one, which great. Lizard is one of my favorites all time. Like he's
a lot of
fun. Great. I feel like Mysterio is a given, especially after that mission in the first one.
Kingpin's gonna be back.
I'm a little bummed how that story chain ended.
It did feel like it was like instead of being its own chain, it felt like a lead up.
Yeah.
To the next, where it was like, I like that he now knows there's 2 Spider-Man.
Yes.
He's like, "Who are you, little Spider-Man?" And it's like, "Oh, that's fun. He's gonna hate them both."
It's reason to
that could lead to some fun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I would love. Okay, who would you like to see in the next one?
Jackal, Ben Riley.
Gotcha.
No, I'd love to see. That's tough. I'd really like to see Chameleon in a weird side quest.
Chameleon would be fun.
That'd be fun. Mysterio, I love. It's tough. There's like, I don't know how Kraven would work, but I could see a really fun like quest where you're hunting him down and he's hunting you down. There's a lot of like really fun ways that they could do it, but it's always hard to be like who's too big to be like a side quest character.
Yeah,
it's the tough part, but I'd be pretty happy with like so many different people.
Kraven makes sense for a side guy.
Yeah. You're not gonna make a full like he could be the villain of a Miles sized game.
Yes,
but not like a Spider-Man 2 game.
No, he's and that you're right because that's where it gets hard. Because I also feel like I wouldn't want to fight Mysterio in a side quest. I feel like Mysterio demands his own like little plot.
Yeah, exactly. Because he has so much potential.
Yeah,
I'd love to see the Superior Foes of Spider-Man as their
that'd be fun
side thing. That'd be great. Yeah.
I'd love to do Sinister Six again, but you do it like the Spectacular Spider-Man story where he has the Venom suit on, so he just like destroys them.
That'd be a lot of fun. I'd love that. That'd be cool. And I'd love to see some small Marvel cameos.
Yeah.
I'd love to see, someone says, Jonah talks about how the Fisk building was bought by the Richards family.
Let's go.
How I would love to see Daredevil briefly show up in the Kingpin mission because there's that card of the lawyers. Like small things. I don't want Thor coming down and like attacking Venom, but I want like street level people or hints towards bigger things.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that's the kind of thing I was like surprised about with Miles is there's a lot more like overt Marvel stuff referenced in this one.
X-Men reference. We got an X-Men reference, ladies and
Where
gentlemen.
was the X-Men reference again?
He has a ticket from a Dazzler show.
Oh,
We got one.
it's happening.
It took I didn't expect the first one to be Dazzler, but we got a reference.
Yeah. I was shocked when you look at the unstable molecule and they're like, we were wondering what the elemental properties of what Thor's hammer looked like, so we decided to make it for ourselves. And we're like, I'm sorry, what? You just name dropped Thor? Okay.
Yeah, it's like, huh? So they're not just at the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was it'll be interesting to see because like I don't want it to if too many people come in and saw a Spider-Man game, so you don't want that. But you do want a bit more than like teasers because you're like you want the teasers to pay off a little.
Yeah,
bit.
Daredevil feels like a good, like happy
He
medium.
feels like a perfect middle ground.
Yeah, where it's and even like the Heroes for Hire, like or Luke Cage and Iron Fist would be a lot of fun, especially if like
or a mission where you have to stop Punisher.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love that.
That'd be great. That'd be so good.
Yeah,
and Daredevil could help you. Sure.
I would love a mission where like Miles meets up with Luke Cage and Luke Cage is like, I was rolling with the Avengers for a bit. Thanks for taking care of Harlem for me.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really fun interaction that wouldn't be too big. That would be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Then just have Captain America come up, but he's shakes Spider-Man's hand and he's like, "You're a better person than me.
You're the best of us.
See ya, kid." And you're like,
"See ya, kid. You're the best."
You're like, "Thank you."
You're like, "Wow,
I did get that in the MCU, and it's all I wanted. So thank you for giving it to me here."
Thank you, Insomniac. You finally gave me. I want him to give Neversoft Spider-Man the hands. You did a sick 180 manual kickflip. Christ,
that was a good grind there, Spider-Man.
I just think it would be a lot of fun to see some little things in the future. But overall, what's your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Miles?
It's a bad game. You shouldn't play it.
Yeah, it's actually like really stinky. So
it's just trash, just terrible.
Oh, it felt like I was playing for Miles.
Some reviewer had that on a byline, just waiting.
If it was bad, just like how I had Earth's meh-tiest heroes for if Avengers was bad. But Miles is
it's a great game.
It's amazing.
Spectacular.
Web of.
The most web up game of the year.
The most web up game of 2020. But yeah, you should check it out if the footage or us talking about it makes you interested, because it's a lot of fun. It leads into fun stuff, and it's a good story. It's a good little
yeah, tale. It's a nice bite-sized superhero experience too. I mean, if you want to mainline the story, it takes like 10 hours.
Yeah, and I read that if you skip and play on easy, like to get the New Game Plus achievement, so if you're really rushing, if you skip cutscenes and stuff, it's like 3 hours. So you can get 2 playthroughs in like 13 hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's worth playing. Yeah. Anyway, I highly recommend it. Joe also highly recommends it, and let us know in the comments what you think, because we want to know what you think and if you think we're stinky.
We are not stinky. Anyway, the two of us heard an ambulance outside our windows. This has nothing to do with the reason why we're leaving, but we do have to go. We have to go.
Even though we're in different parts of the world entirely.
They didn't need to know that. It's a really big ambulance.
It's a huge ambulance. It's the size of a province. Oh wait, you guys don't have provinces. It's the size of a state.
There you go.
But we gotta go. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Joe. Yeah. It's always fun.
Always talk Marvel.
And, always happy to talk Marvel. Make more Marvel games so we can talk Marvel more.
Make a Fantastic Four game.
Make a Fantastic Four game. Make an X-Men game. Make everything.
Hulk Ultimate Destruction 2 would also be really cool.
Ultimate Destruction re-release would be fine.
Just remaster. I
just want to play it.
I'll take that over anything.
Re-release Ultimate Spider-Man. That was a really good game.
The game's so short though.
It is short, but it's good.
Yeah, that's true.
They could remake it. I don't know. Anyway, before we get completely off track again, thank you all for listening and watching, and have a good one.
Yep. See you guys.